Cell phone can be used as a control device to implant certain messages in your brain. What I'm talking about is not just some hypothetical, maybe out there, some kind of technology they haven't created yet. No, this is technology that actually exists. And in fact, the creation of this technology goes back all the way to the 1970s, where they hypothesized about it. But today, it's more of a reality than anything. For starters, let me show you this first report, and this is on Defense One, so a government website, and it's titled, "The U.S. Military is Making Lasers That Create Voices Out of Thin Air." Now, the report goes on to state that within 3 years, the Pentagon's non-lethal weapons lab hopes to have direct energy weapons that could produce an effect like a haunted walkie-talkie or like the biblical burning bush. Now take a listen to the actual recording of which the US military made this device sound like, well, kind of like a godlike voice. Take a listen, and just a forewarning, it's kind of screechy. So I've lowered the quality of it a little bit, but it is screechy. Take a listen. Creepy, isn't it? Well, that is not a human voice that you heard. In fact, it is an auditory effect created by US military scientists in which they used air and lasers, and they took the lasers to manipulate the air to make that voice. And truth be told, the article even talks about how the Pentagon plans on using that technology to scare the bejeebies out of people. And they want to do that at checkpoints and riots and protest. But that's not all. To kind of bring in a little bit more of the idea and solidify this technology, I want to take you back to a DARPA experiment that even further details some of the voices they plan on putting in your head. Check out this article on thedailysheeple.com, and it was put out quite a few years ago in 2014, and its headline, "Voice of God Weapon Makes People Think God is Talking to Them." Now, this weapon was discovered by Robert Duncan, and he also speaks about the infamous Project Bluebeam, which gives the ability of the US government or whoever's using it, the ability to create some kind of hologram up in the sky to make you think, if they wanted to make you think there's a second coming of Jesus Christ, they could use that technology to do that. But this technology is downright terrifying. Imagine if you had a voice implanted in your head with this particular weapon telling you to do certain things, maybe certain things that you wouldn't agree with. Well, this is the kind of power that's being harnessed, and it's very, very, very imperative that we all know about it. Now, for another piece of the puzzle, I'm going to have to take you back to the 1970s. Now, this document I did a report on, and I called it Weapons of the Antichrist, and you'll see why I called it in a moment. But it's titled "One Human Problem, Its Solution, and Its Relation to the UFO Phenomenon." The document published, you could see, in 1977. But the reason I linked this to an antichrist weapon is because the document gets into 6 stages. The 6th stage consists of the linkage of all individual brains, your brain and my brain, into one brain. Thus, a super being is being given the absolute control of space and time results. It requires a technological species to accomplish that linkage, resulting in a multidimensional, eventually non-physical super being. When technology is sufficiently advanced for linkage to be developed, the power of the species tools is so great that its own self-destruction is imminent. What is that entire report? And I encourage you to read it. It's only 19 pages. Well, that report gets into 6 stages, but the most specific of the stages is the 6th one, which they detail the idea and even flaunt the idea of linking the human brains to a super brain, a superpower, an alien, a perfect being of sorts is the actual word there used in the document, or an antichrist being. In the Bible, most of you are aware, if you study prophecy, that there's a mark that comes in the latter days. A lot of people believe that to be some kind of really advanced technology. Well, could technology that's implanted in your hand or forehead be linked to an antichrist figure, which would make you kind of one and one with the leader? Well, this is what is being engaged in government sources and documents. These are the things that they're studying: hive mentality, linkage, brain chips, and these kinds of things can link you and give you the same thoughts as somebody else. Very creepy and very scary technology. Now, the last piece that I have to show you came this year, I believe. And this is the document that I want to show you. Now, what you see on the screen, shows the ability of the U.S. government to control you through cell phone towers. They can do it through the towers, through drive-by vehicles, but these are ways in which they can send direct message to the population into their brain. Now, this document, along with this other one here, and this one just shows the ways in which they control you and some of the causes that it has on your body. It can cause itching, tension, memory loss, dreams, reading your thoughts, all that stuff. It's an interesting thing. But here's the unique part of it is those two, there is actually a third one, but those pages were released by accident. There was a journalist who sent in a Freedom of Information Request Act, FIOA Act, for Syria. And when he got back his paperwork, he also received those documents. Call it an accident, call it on purpose. I'm not quite sure which it is, but these documents are now on the internet, public and able for you to see. So why do I bring all of this information to you? Good question. Here's the thing. We need to be aware that this technology exists. The voice of God technology is not just a hypothetical maybe. As I showed you in the beginning, there's actual video footage of some of those voices being portrayed. Now, they've got different levels of this, and obviously we're about 25 to 50 years behind what they actually have released at this moment. So I can guarantee you the full version of that exists somewhere. That's just my hypothetical theory on that one, but I'm sure many of you agree. Not only that, but they have the ability to create holograms. We know that because they're already doing that in our today's age. Additionally, they do have the ability to control, as you've seen with the most recent reports. So all that to say, I guess the ultimate decision of what they can and can't do is up to you. I've showed you documented reports that have been released via FIOA. I've showed you actual technology from DARPA. In the end, what do you think's going on? Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.